Hey guys, I'm Blackpink Goat and I'm a blank, but I also respect and love so many other fandoms and K-pop groups too. But today I want to explore what I think are some of the most toxic fandoms in the K-pop world. First of all, a quick disclaimer. Toxicity exists in every fandom. And while I'm pointing out specific ones, that doesn't mean the entire fandom is toxic. Nor am I trying to spread hate about the fans or the idols. My intention is not to disrespect anyone, but rather to share my own personal opinions, which are not intended to be taken as absolute facts.
Moving on to the fifth fandom, we have Bunnies, the NewJeans fanbase. While they've grown into a mature and supportive group today, there was a time during their early rookie days when some fans were quite critical and more immature than toxic, often comparing NewJeans to others, especially Blackpink, and claiming they deserved more popularity. Yes, of course, NewJeans are really talented and deserve success, but that's not the way you show it. They also tended to call other groups with cute concepts copycats, particularly mentioning groups like EYEKONS. However, this group has grown very mature and friendly nowadays, so I don't have much of a problem with them at all. Fourth most toxic fandom is STRAYKIDS fandom. One big problem is the fights between different fandoms. While being defensive is fine, it sometimes crosses the line into being just plain rude and disrespectful. To be honest, all the fandoms picked for this video do this to some extent, but just because everyone else is doing it doesn't make it right. It's still wrong. Another issue is the intense shipping, where people insist idols are romantically or intimately involved in real life. While some playful shipping is harmless fun, crossing the line into unhealthy obsession is where it becomes a problem. Along with that, another major issue is when fans cross the line into creepy and possessive behavior, sometimes acting like stalkers. For example, the leader Bang Chan has pointed out instances where his privacy was violated, like being recorded without permission at a hotel gym. It's also not uncommon for fans to disrupt their personal space, like showing up at their hotel rooms. And during video calls, some people make inappropriate sexual or romantic comments that make the idols really uncomfortable. Also really important to remember that for every negative comment, there are so many amazing fans in the Stay fandom who are kind, supportive, and respectful to other groups and their own idols. I think the third most toxic fandom is KATSEYE's fanbase, which really proved me wrong since I used to believe no one could compete with Blinks for being the most toxic. Their fandom is actually incredibly toxic, and there are many problematic things about them. The first point is racism, and I think they have been really racist toward the member Lara. I remember it was last year when there were tons of posts, videos, and comments focusing on Lara's skin color and facial features. They ignored how unique her facial features are and how beautiful she is in her own way, instead talking about how she is ugly. It clearly affected Lara so much that she once almost cried during a live stream. It is so hurtful to see because she is really unique and has so much talent, but some people ignored all of that just to call her ugly. Although the racism has decreased recently, there was a time when it was way too much. The second point is that eyekons, the fan base, often can't take constructive criticism or different opinions. Of course, I think KATSEYE's company is making rage bait songs and choosing a few minutes of fame instead of building a strong, long-lasting career for the girls. They have so much talent, but they're coming out with songs like Gnarly and Pinky Up. While some fans are finally calling out the company, another part of the fan base still can't take this criticism well. Another thing I find really problematic is the way some fans compare the KATSEYE members to other artists, especially Blackpink. I've seen them compare Danielle to Lisa to highlight her dance skills, but I don't think that's fair because they have very different styles. Danielle is incredibly talented and doesn't need comparisons to be praised. It's also really upsetting to think about her own father comparing her to someone much older while she's still a teenager. Ultimately, I love these girls and their growth, and I feel there are no words to fully describe how incredibly talented they are. I would love to see them continue releasing great music and move beyond the rage bait stuff because they have such a bright future ahead.
Next, I want to talk about the second most toxic fandom. I'm sure you know which one I mean, Blink and ARMY. In my opinion, they are two sides of the same coin. Both are extremely toxic and immature. However, there is one specific reason I think ARMY is just slightly more toxic by about 0.01%. Still, if you feel the other way, that's fine, since both are on the same level. I'll focus on ARMY and that key point later, but first let's discuss why Blink deserves the second spot as the most toxic fandom right now. When we talk about Blink, I honestly can't find words strong enough to describe how toxic and immature they are. They constantly compare Blackpink to other groups, even shaming those groups. They also compare Blackpink members against each other, and they frequently pick fights with other fan bases, especially with Taeyong fans. They can't handle any constructive criticism about Blackpink, and they refuse to admit when Blackpink is wrong. In fact, just to express their anger at other groups or fan bases, they will cross any line, even if it means hurting someone's feelings. I remember when Taeyong's grandmother passed away, and even when his dog died, I saw so many Blinks mocking him, shaming him for crying, and even making fun of his grandmother's and dog's deaths. It was unbelievably painful, and honestly, those immature Blinks deserve to have their phones taken away, locked in a room and made to study, so they can actually understand how wrong and hurtful their actions were, both to Taeyong and to any person in the world. I also remember the controversy when Blackpink said the N-word in their teenage years. Now, I can understand that the Blackpink members aren't racist. I've never seen them being rude to anyone because of their skin color, and in their decade-long career, I never heard anyone say Blackpink was rude to them for their color. But they were arrogant and dismissive in not apologizing for saying the N-word, even though they were just covering a song. They could have avoided using it, but they didn't. And now, even as grown women in their 30s, they still haven't apologized. That arrogance is so harmful because the N-word carries such deep pain and history for the Black community. It hurts so many people, and I don't understand why Blackpink never apologized. And still, so many Blinks defend them, saying an apology isn't needed, when in fact, Blackpink was in the wrong. I also remember that Blinks continuously shipped Jennie with BTS's Taeyong, even though neither of them has ever confirmed whether they're dating or not. It's really important to just ignore their personal lives and focus on their professional work, on their music and their performances. But Blinks keep pushing this narrative, insisting that Jennie and Taeyong are dating, even though it's not necessary. If they decide to date, they will share it when they're ready. We don't need to speculate or force a narrative. Now I want to talk about what I believe is the most toxic fandom, BTS ARMY. To be honest, there isn't much difference between Blink and ARMY. They both have the same level of toxicity and immaturity. When Blink started mocking Taeyong for the loss of his dog and his grandmother, instead of responding maturely, ARMY then crossed a line by mocking Jennie's allegedly deceased father. That was equally disgusting and just as wrong. Both sides should have acted with maturity and respect. BTS's RM, the leader of BTS, said the N-word. And just like Blink, ARMY didn't properly respond to the criticism. ARMY also compares BTS to other groups, they pit BTS members against each other, and they can't accept what BTS is wrong. They even stalk them. But there is one specific thing which I think is the most toxic behavior, and I'll explain that now. The one specific thing that I think makes BTS ARMY the most toxic is that there are so many pick-me and creepy fans in this fandom. They can't accept that BTS members might be dating other people. So when there was a rumor that Taeyong and Jennie were dating, they viciously attacked Jennie, saying unbelievably hurtful things I can't even repeat. They completely forgot that both of them are adults, with their own lives and choices about who they date. And it's the same toxic behavior over and over. Like when Jungkook said IU was his favorite, they attacked IU too. They act as if BTS members are dating each other, especially Taeyong and Jungkook. And even if it's not true, they push this narrative, creating sexual fan fiction about them on Wattpad and even on YouTube. On Wattpad, it's just out of control. And this is why I believe ARMY is the most toxic fandom. There are also so many Taekook and Jikook shippers in this fandom. Some believe Taeyong and Jungkook are in a relationship, while others believe Jimin and Jungkook are. Because of this, the fandom is constantly fighting. Taeyong or Jungkook solo stands even went as far as showing up at Jimin's father's cafe to attack him, which is just unbelievably brutal. Many of them even threatened Taeyong, saying they would hurt him. Thankfully, both Taeyong and Jimin are safe now, but this whole situation is really frightening and absolutely unacceptable. So we've reached the end of this video, and I just want to say that none of these words are meant to spread hate toward any K-pop group, or the non-toxic sides of fandoms. I just wanted to point out toxic behaviors that exist in every fandom. If you notice anything wrong with my wording, I tried my best to be respectful, but of course, I can make mistakes, so if you have constructive feedback, I welcome it in the comments. But if anyone is disrespectful, I will delete those comments. I don't want to argue. This video does not mean hate toward any fandom, idol, or anyone's opinion. So just remember, spread love, spread honesty, and I love you all.